Hello, my name is Roger Sherman. I am a documentary filmmaker, a founder of Florentine Films, and I'm on the Hamptons Doc Fest advisory board. Wow, what a film! I'm so pleased to have um, Sara, Khaki, and Mohammadreza Eyni. Uh-oh, did I get that right? Mohammadreza? I did.
Yes.
Okay. Um, for coming on and letting us screen your incredible, beautifully shot, beautifully edited. We learned so much about Sara just in that first shot. No dialogue, which as filmmakers, we're always trying to show, not tell. And you did that so beautifully. Tell us a bit about how the film came about.
Thank you, Hampton Film Festival, and Roger for having us and for this discussion. So I was born and raised in Iran, Tehran, and grew up witnessing countless stories of women like Sara who are fighting for their independence. And then I moved to the United States at a quite a young age. And having lived now equally between the two worlds, I can say that the ideas of gender injustice and inequality very much exists in here in the States too, especially when it comes to the ideas of targeting, women's bodies always being targeted. And it becomes a battleground wherever we look at it or wherever we are from. So when I, through extensive research, came across the story of Sara Shahverdi, a strong woman who lives in the northwest of Iran, who is the only female motorcycle rider and had been a midwife and delivered 400 kids in her village. That was intriguing for me. And I knew there was a story there, but I also knew that I wouldn't be able to tell that story by myself. I needed a male co-creator to accompany me on this journey because we also wanted a cinematic story, visually cinematic story. So um, that's how I ended up. I had the pleasure of working with Mohammadreza in the past through remote collaborations. I was in New York and Mohammadreza was in Iran. So I called him. I said, let's go to this village and start this journey together.
Yeah, it was a fantastic experience, and thank you for calling me because I was always waiting for a moment to make a film about the community that I'm coming from. I'm coming from the region, not the village, but Azeri speaking people. But it was not possible to make an intimate film as a male director. Because of the nature of the community and the culture. So with Sara, it was possible for me to getting access to women's stories, to teenage girls, and the different places that otherwise was not possible. And we spent 8 years making this film, 7 years, yeah, 7 years
Yeah.
filming, and it was actually 8 sessions. And each time we stayed in the village for 90 days or 70 days or 50 days. You know, you are Roger, you're a documentary filmmaker. You know that sometimes it happens. So because we wanted to be there and see the evolution that Sara is offering to the village and her conflicts, we wanted to stay there and capture the story and see the change.
Most films that we make, you're working within a very, very tight budget. It's very expensive to make a film. A 30-day shooting schedule for a feature documentary is not bad.
Mm,
Some go longer than that, but 4 months, 5 months, six
exactly.
months.
Exactly. Yeah, it was, yeah, and we had a lot of challenges how to manage it. The first 3 years we didn't have any support. Actually, Sara and I were working on other projects and to just being able to work on this project. And also for decrease the cost, we decided to get married in the process.
Bravo. My next question was about co-directing, and I guess the
No, no, it's
punchline is it worked out.
It did work out.
But
We in this context, um, it just was so serendipitous that mm, we it just worked out so organically that we were on the ground, and then there were a lot of stories that didn't end up in the film. There were a lot of stories that were in the film, a lot of moments that we really felt like we needed each other to navigate
Yeah.
the story, to move it forward. We, in a way, became each other's therapists on this journey.
That's great.
And yes, in the process, we got married as well.
No, it was because of love, not because of the cost.
Well, it can be dicey to co-direct, and I can tell you the times where that hasn't worked for me, but let's not go there. Um, did you work out in advance how you would do it?
Mhm. Actually, we had extensive talks about the visual language and the story. And of course, as you know, for documentary films, we're open for any changes for the story.
Flexibility is the secret
Exactly.
sauce.
Yes.
Exactly. For us, it was not important if Sara is going to win or just not being able to win. We wanted to follow her because through her eyes, we wanted to see what is happening in the village and in the society. And our dynamic, I enjoyed actually working with Sara in the process.
So we would have extensive conversation about, let's say, next day's shoot or some themes that are going to emerge, because we didn't know going in there, we didn't know that we would be keep on coming back to this village for 7 years. We just every shooting trip we would think that this is the last one, and then would there would be a lot of layers and nuances to discover. So the conversations that we had as we were making backups, and we were reviewing the footage that Mohammadreza captured, and I was doing sound, so it was like a constant conversation, but then some themes would start to emerge from the story. And then we would talk about how do we visually tell that story? What is the story anyway? Because the story kept on shifting every time. So I think for us, we really wanted to challenge ourselves and serve the project as best as possible, because not only in production, later in editing too, as we
Mm.
both edited this project, we had two separate editing stations. And
What?
yes, we would, we
I've
would.
never heard that before.
Reinvented in the history of cinema.
Well,
So
we
you'd
would,
work separately and
yeah.
then you'd watch and say, well, we'll take that one and that one and that one, and we'll go this way and this way.
Yeah, so
Yes.
we would start our days working on specific scenes separately, and then we would be our first audience, looking at the end of the day how the day went, how the cut went. And sometimes it would be okay, but sometimes it's really challenging to edit a moment in a verite setting, in a documentary setting. So in those moments where we would have a creative block, we would switch. So it's because we knew the material so well, we knew what kinds of creative solutions we could offer to that specific scene. So that's really how we worked. And then it wasn't about whether or not one idea wins. It was about what would work out the best for the project.
Actually, I can't remember which scene you worked on, or because it was a collaborative work.
Yeah, yeah.
We gave each scene different opportunities to enjoy the different perspectives while we
Yeah,
were working on.
films, people don't understand, first of all, what it takes to make a film. I don't know any films that have gone 7 years or some, but that's way off what the normalcy is. But films are really made in the editing room. You can take a good film and make it really great, or you can ruin it in the editing room. That's where it's made. And let's talk for a minute about the visuals. Um, we call it motion pictures, but that doesn't mean the camera has to move. And your film is the perfect example of beautiful static shooting, allowing the action to happen within the frame. Is that
Mm.
something, Mohammadreza, that you do or is it the film that tells you how to work and how to shoot?
Thank you for saying that. Actually, I've studied cinema, and while studying, I learned a lot from masters. And each time I took a lot of notes watching the films when I was too young, and I learned a lot from them. And also, I made some documentaries about visual artists or visual arts, and from each of them, I learned how to use a visual frame to convey the emotions. And it was very important. And I decided for this film, I used those knowledge that I got from masters to tell this story because and we both knew that we are making a film for a bigger screen. We wanted to make a cinematic film. And as you said, finding a specific visual language for each film is necessary. It's not like having this language and using it for another film. I think it doesn't work. But for this specific film, we had some decisions with Sara. We had a lot of talks to find it. And also for us, it was not about the beautiful shots. It was about how visuals are going to support this story. This was very important. And also in the editing room, uh, we talked to each other. I was like, I'm not married to any footage, so when it's not going to support our film and the story, we can easily put it out. But just what we have now, it's about visuals that's supporting our story and our character's journey.
And one example to that, I would say, is the moment where Zahra, one of the young female characters, is getting married in the story, and she's basically we see her behind a lace curtain. So on that specific day, we spent a long time with the family, with her, as they were prepping for Zahra's wedding. And Mohammad Reza had captured other moments too. But as we had talked about that idea of invisibility as one of the themes in one of the many layers in the film, we wanted to, and as we talked about how we visually tell that story, then in the edit, we got rid of everything else except for that one um, long shot of Zahra behind the lace curtain, because that was very telling of
Yes.
this young woman walking from girlhood to adulthood with no transition in between. And that really what happens to a lot of these young
We
girls.
call it killing our darlings, to
Yeah.
have to cut out things that you just love, 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 love. But it always makes the film better. And in fact, very quickly, at least in my experience, I don't remember that it was in. And because it's now working, can you talk a bit about permissions, official government permission? Did you get a lot of pushback for the locals while you were filming, before you filmed?
Mm. For because it was a documentary film, we needed to get permission for specific places. For fiction filmmakers, it's very easy to create a court or all girls school in 1 day or 2 days. But for us, because it was a documentary and a narrative film, we wanted to be there and experience the life there. We needed to be there, and that way we needed permission. And for a court scene, I think we spent 4 months, 5 months to get permission. But we had only 45 minutes to shoot inside the court. So, it was our challenges. And also for all girls school, it took many months to just being able to go there.
Yeah.
But we are happy that we spend that time and we're patient because those scenes are very important for our film and telling a lot of similar stories of women and girls that happening in the region. So I can say we have a lot of stories of spending a lot of time behind the camera more than the film itself. So it was very
Of course.
challenging. Variety of films everywhere in this world is hard, but also we had, for us, I think it was not fair to spend times for some permissions.
Well, congratulations. It's a wonderful film. You won the Grand Jury Prize at Sundance. Bravo for that. Everybody in the audience, please tell every person you've ever known about this film. I understand it's going to be at Film Forum starting on November 21st, and then in theaters on the 5th of December. What's next? What's the next film? A vacation?
Very good question.
We have some ideas that we are developing and hoping that it won't take us 8 years to make.
Um, well, thank you very much for letting us show your film. We much appreciate it, and it's been wonderful to talk with you, and we wish you all the best. Take good care.
Thank you. We really wanted to be in person in theater and talk with audience about the film, but this time it's not possible. But hope to see you all somewhere in person.
Thank
We'll
you
see
very
you
much.
soon.
Appreciate it.